Miss Hana Thompson stepped onto the school grounds with the calm smile of someone who had survived storms far worse than the whispers now rippling through the courtyard, though she pretended not to notice the way students stared as if she had stepped into forbidden territory. The sun was bright, the air warm, and yet the atmosphere felt strangely cold as she walked forward with her folder tucked under her arm, her steps quiet but confident. She had moved to this town just 2 weeks earlier, taking a job at Ridgeway High after years of teaching inner-city youth, kids who had known hardship, discrimination, and survival the way some people knew textbooks. She thought she had seen the worst of human behavior, but the sneering looks she received today told her she might have been wrong. In the distance, 3 boys stood leaning against the fence: Tyler, Mason, and Blake, known troublemakers, known racists, and known terrors to anyone who didn't fit into their manufactured definition of normal. They saw her, paused, and exchanged grins that had nothing to do with amusement and everything to do with cruelty. "Hey, look at that," Tyler smirked loudly. "The school hired some foreign-looking lady. What is she? Indian? Middle Eastern? Alien?" The others burst into laughter. Hana heard them but kept walking, her expression neutral, her heart steady. She had learned long ago that reacting to ignorance only fed it. But the boys didn't like being ignored, they wanted a reaction. Bullies feed on attention. They pushed off the fence and followed her with slow, predatory steps, circling her like hyenas. "Where you from, lady?" Blake jeered. "'Cause you sure ain't from around here." "Leave her alone," a tiny freshman whispered nearby, but Mason shoved him aside with a snarl. "Mind your business, shrimp." Hana paused, finally turning toward them with a small polite smile. Her voice was gentle, almost musical. "Good morning. Please step aside, I have to get to my class." Tyler chuckled and moved closer. "Oh, we'll move after you answer a question." His eyes darkened with the thrill of intimidation. "Are you even American?" She raised an eyebrow, not offended but saddened. "My birthplace is irrelevant. My role here is to teach? Mason snorted. "Teach what? Exotic dance moves?" Blake added, "Or maybe how to make curry." Their laughter rang harshly across the courtyard. Teens nearby froze, unsure whether to intervene or run. Some filmed, because cruelty is entertainment to the weak-minded. Hana inhaled quietly. She hated racism not because it hurt her personally, but because she had seen the damage it caused to countless children growing up believing they were lesser. She wanted to respond, maybe educate them, but fate didn't give her the chance. Tyler nudged Blake, who grinned wickedly. "Let's give the new teacher a real Ridgeway welcome." Before Hana could react, Blake shoved her hard. She stumbled backward, losing balance, and fell directly into a large muddy puddle near the field. Gasps filled the courtyard. Mud splashed across her clothes, her hair, her face. Phones caught everything. The bullies roared with laughter. "Look at her." Tyler cackled. "Guess she's part of the dirt now. Should have stayed wherever you came from." Mason yelled. Hana didn't move for a moment. She sat in the mud, silent, still, breathing in the humiliation as students watched in frozen shock. Some looked away in guilt, some watched with morbid curiosity. And the bullies thought they had won. They thought she was fragile, defeated, broken. But then Hana slowly lifted her head. Her eyes opened, not soft anymore, not patient. Sharp. Focused. Dangerous. The courtyard went silent, because something in her gaze made even the bullies step back. Hana rose from the mud with a calmness that felt unnatural after such humiliation. She wiped her face once, then straightened her posture, and for a split second, her stance shifted into something unmistakably martial. Balanced. Grounded. Powerful. "You shouldn't have done that," she said softly. Tyler scoffed, "Or what? You gonna cry to the principal?" Hana stepped forward, and the way she moved made several students whisper. It wasn't normal walking, it was fluid, precise, controlled. Trained. Tyler tried to grab her again, but before he could blink, Hana's hand shot out, deflecting him with a movement too fast to follow. She didn't hit him. She didn't need to. Tyler stumbled backward like he had been pushed by a force he didn't understand. Murmurs exploded. Mason lunged, furious and confused. Hana sidestepped effortlessly, catching his wrist and guiding his momentum into a perfect takedown that sent him rolling, not painfully, but humiliatingly, across the grass. He sprang up in shock. What are you?" Blake hesitated now, fear creeping into his features. Students leaned forward, the air crackled. Hana looked at all three with a calm expression edged with steel. "I am your new teacher," she said. "And I am also a 6th-degree black belt in Taekwondo." Gasps. A few cheered. Someone whispered, "She's a master." Tyler's hands shook. "Why you think that scares me?" Hana stepped closer, eyes locked onto his, unshaking, unstoppable. "No," she said. "But your actions should. She didn't harm them. She didn't need to." Her presence alone crushed their arrogance. The principal rushed out moments later, alerted by the crowd. The situation quickly unraveled: the mud, the bullying, the racism, the attempted assault. Parents were called, suspensions issued, apologies forced. But the real shift happened not because of punishment, but because, for the first time, students saw someone stand against cruelty with grace and strength. Hana walked into her classroom still covered in dried mud, refusing to change until after her first lecture. "Let this be the first lesson," she told her stunned students. "People will try to drag you down. Some will even throw you into the mud. But dignity isn't about avoiding the fall. It's about how you rise." And in that moment, the entire school knew Ridgeway High had just met a very different kind of teacher. The next morning, the school buzzed with more energy than it had seen in years, students whispering, rumors exploding, every hallway electrified by what had happened. Videos of Hana's takedowns had already spread online, but she didn't care about virality. What she cared about was the subtle shift she felt when she walked across the courtyard again, a mixture of admiration, fear, and newfound respect. But not from everyone. Inside the principal's office, Tyler, Mason, and Blake sat stiffly in chairs, their parents furious, the boys themselves shaken. The punishment had been decided: 2-week suspension, mandatory counseling sessions, and a written apology. But consequences alone don't change hearts. And Hana, standing beside the principal, understood that better than anyone. "I want to speak with them privately," she said. The principal hesitated but agreed. When the door closed, the boys kept their eyes down. Hana didn't raise her voice. She didn't threaten. She simply sat across from them and began to speak truth they weren't ready for. "Fear makes people cruel," she said gently. "Ignorance makes people arrogant. But both can be unlearned if you choose to unlearn them." Tyler clenched his jaw. "Why didn't you fight us? You could have beat all of us." "I saw what you did." Hana smiled softly. "Because real strength isn't proving you can hurt others. It's showing you don't need to." Mason looked up slowly. "Why didn't you tell anyone you're, a black belt?" "Because I am here to teach," she replied. "Not intimidate." Blake's voice was small. "We thought you were weak." Hana leaned back. "People who think kindness is weakness are the weakest of all." Her words stunned them, not because they were harsh, but because they were true. For the first time, they listened, not because they were forced to, but because someone had spoken to them without judgment. She continued. "You three have potential leadership, influence, but you've been using it to harm others. Imagine what you could be if you used it differently." The boys exchanged glances. Something in their eyes shifted, the first spark of self-awareness. The beginning of remorse. Then came her final lesson. "You will apologize," she said, "not because the school demands it, but because it is right." And with that, the boys stood, not proudly, but humbly, ready to change. When they returned to school weeks later, something unexpected happened. Instead of humiliation, students approached them cautiously, some offering chances, others watching skeptically. And the boys, slowly, awkwardly, reluctantly, began improving. Mason stopped shoving freshmen. Blake cut ties with the racist jokes he used to find funny. Tyler stopped dominating hallways and started tutoring in math. But the real change happened when Hana announced a new program, Taekwondo for Confidence and Discipline, open to every student. The gym filled immediately. Kids wanted to learn from the teacher who had risen from the mud with the grace of a warrior. And among the first to join were the 3 bullies. Their parents almost fainted when they volunteered. Hana didn't welcome them with special attention, she welcomed them the same way she welcomed all her students, with discipline, warmth, and zero tolerance for excuses. Training was hard. Sweat, bruises, ego shattered and rebuilt. But through it, the boys learned something they had never understood: respect. Respect for others. Respect for themselves. For the first time in years, the school hallway felt safer. The culture shifted. Racial slurs stopped. Random bullying faded. Students began standing up for each other instead of filming cruelty. And it all traced back to that moment: a teacher in the mud, rising with dignity instead of rage. Months passed. Hana became the school's most loved figure, not because of her martial skill, but because of her humanity. And the boys, once feared, became symbols of change. During the end-of-year assembly, Tyler stepped onto the stage, trembling, holding a microphone. "Last year," he began, "we did something unforgivable. We bullied someone who didn't deserve it. Someone stronger, not because she can fight, but because she knows she doesn't need to." The crowd watched, breathless. He turned to Hana. Thank you for not giving up on us." She smiled warmly, proud but humble. And that day, Ridgeway High learned a story they would pass down for years: strength isn't in the fist, it's in the heart. And a black belt isn't for hurting people. It's for helping them change. As students filed out of the auditorium, several begged Hana to start a YouTube channel: motivational lessons, self-defense tutorials, life advice. So she finally did. And the very first video she uploaded ended with the line she now became famous for: "If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe, because every student, every life, every person deserves a chance to rise from the mud."